for us, either the board or the residents of the town, about COVID-19 and maybe just it looks like the cases are starting to finally come down. The testing rate for positives has come down below the 10%. So everything looks like it's trending in the right direction. And is Tewksbury also experiencing the same downward direction of these key statistics as well?
Yes, can you guys hear me okay? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you, Irving.
Okay. Yeah, so the numbers are definitely starting to come down significantly, I would say. And it would be interesting to see what happens over the next couple of weeks just in terms of, just the general environment of people congregating, in large groups and just the impact that may have on the numbers going forward over the next few weeks. The other piece is that the serology testing is really taking off as well. So we're getting a lot of probable cases, which means that they're not actually confirmed by the nasal swab PCR, but they are the serology test, which tests for antibodies. So that's kind of a new thing that we're all learning about and getting guidance from the state. That's sort of ever changing at this point, just because of the novel nature of it. So we're following those people in the community as well. And those don't go to CTC, those stay with us. And yeah, I mean, overall, the numbers have come down significantly. The recovered numbers have gone up. And in terms of congregate sites, it looks like most residents are either recovered or very close to recovery. Again, as I said last week and maybe the week before, just, make sure you're washing your hands. Good hand hygiene is kind of a key point to take home right now. And just keep doing what you're doing because the numbers are going down.
In terms of the contact tracing calls, I'm assuming that for residents, that is still an ongoing initiative, even though maybe the number of calls is decreasing, so someone may still receive one of those calls?
Yes, anybody that tests positive gets a call from either us or the contact tracing collaborative, and that includes the serology results. So if you come back, if you're tested either via a nasal swab or serology, which is the blood, which tests for antibodies, you will, and you test positive, you will hear from us. And if so, I don't want to, without getting too much into it, without causing too much confusion, because it's all so new. With the serology, the new guidance is that if you test positive in your serology and have been symptom-free for the last 2 weeks, that you're considered to be not infectious. And so that kind of shows maybe you were infected with the COVID-19 virus earlier in the year, but that you have antibodies and you don't need further testing. PCR testing, which is the nasal swab. But if you test positive for the antibodies and you've been symptomatic within the last 2 weeks, then we continue, to find out who your contacts are and getting in touch with those contacts to make sure that they're quarantining, and then doing the same follow-up as we would with we'd ask them to get the nasal swab done because that's the gold standard, and then do the regular follow-up that we would do with any other case.
Okay. Well, thank you. So, Maria, any questions for anyone out there?
No, thank you.
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, Maria.
Hi.
So I think moving on.
Sorry, I thought I said hi earlier.
On the agenda, the next item is emergency order for personal care services discussion. Added this because we did have back on March 16th of this year, the board held an emergency virtual meeting with the Board of Selectmen on board, and we that point, put an emergency order in for, actually, I guess it was that Friday, 13th. We put the emergency order in to our personal care ban, and now that the state is reopening plan is out there, and there are different businesses that are being allowed to reopen, there really is no need now for us to have our own local personal care services ban. So the options were either we keep the ban, but then we keep modifying it every time the state allows a different type of business that was included in our plan to open to remove them from our ban, or simply just to rescind our ban, because our goal is make sure that businesses can reopen, and we don't want to have our local ban potentially be an impediment to businesses opening if it's still valid and that business type is listed, and we don't have a chance to meet to remove that from our ban. So I think the cleanest way is just for us to rescind that ban. And talking with town council, he was also of similar viewpoint that he recommended that we would go ahead and just vote to rescind that plan as well. So I do have a motion that town council put together, but before I do it, I just want to have a quick discussion with, I guess, both board members that are on, both Maria Zaroulis and Dr. Bichetti. So that takes care of our board roll call. I guess I'll start off with you, Tony. Any thoughts on this? You think we should go ahead and rescind it, or what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are we should go ahead and rescind it following the appropriate suggested best management guidelines that each business should be aware of and follow, and hopefully they've implemented, not implemented yet, but have these plans already in place so they can open. I've noticed in my travels, and I do have a lot of traveling around New England, that some local communities have already implemented those bans with practicing, good hygiene, safe social distancing, physical distancing, and appropriate plans and procedures and protocols in place. So I would recommend, my opinion, be to rescind it. And I think that most businesses will be doing the right thing. Sadly, my awareness of human nature is such that I know there'll be some people that they may do it for a while. They'll have relapses, so they won't do it. But I think the public will. They have such an awareness right now of what's going on that they'll be the ultimate judges of whether these businesses are successful or not, regardless of their expertise in their chosen field. A lot of people still have concerns about this, and I respect those wishes, but I do believe we should rescind it, allow our community to open up. I don't feel we should hold them back anymore. And as Irvi said, we'll see what happens in a few weeks. But I believe that things are on the wane, and I think that we'll be all right. My gut feeling, like I said, we'll see, but I would recommend rescinding.
Okay, and what about you, Maria? Any thoughts?
I agree that it should be rescinded. They can all follow the state guidelines going forward. And from what I've seen, most places are doing everything that they can possibly do to prevent any problems. Nobody wants to have a problem and get closed down again, and everyone has to go into quarantine. So I think that it's time.
Okay. So I'm going to read the motion that the town council had put forth. I cannot advance the motion, but I'll just read it. And then, Susan, I do have, actually, you're including the email, so you have the same text as well. I'll read it, and then if one of the two of you just wants to make a motion to adopt what I just stated, then we can continue. So for the town council, and it was on March 13th, 2020, the Board of Health voted to implement a personal care ban as a public health safety measure due to the COVID-19 crisis. In light of Governor Baker's phased-in reopening plan and the businesses that are allowed to now reopen, I move that effective immediately, the board rescinds its vote that implemented the personal care ban. So that's the motion as put forth or recommended by town council.
I don't mind making the motion. Usually, ladies before gentlemen. I mean, it doesn't make a difference to me. I think we're both in agreement. So,
You go right ahead, Tony.
thank you, Maria. I'll make a motion to rescind the personal care ban.
Okay. I guess technically just motion that you'll adopt the motion as proposed by town council. So then that keeps his wording in it.
Yes, correct. Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
And,
I'm driving. It was fading in and out. I don't want to lose you before. Thank you.
No, that's fine. So I'm trying to get this in while you're still in good range. And then Maria, you're going to second that motion?
I will second the motion.
A motion's been put forth and seconded to immediately rescind the board's vote that implemented the personal care ban. All those in favor signify by saying aye. And since it's a virtual meeting, we'll do a virtual roll call. So, Dr. Bichetti, yay or nay?
Aye. Yay.
And Mr. Rules?
Yay.
Okay. Chair votes aye as well, so motion carries unanimously, 3-0. Okay. So effective immediately, that personal care ban is rescinded. Okay. Moving on to, even though it's 2 agenda items, it's really a combined. Normally, these Wednesday meetings have been held to discuss any pressing matters and update the board and town residents in terms of the COVID-19 pandemic and its local impacts here in town. We've tried to hold off having routine Board of Health business to our 3rd Thursday of the month meetings. But in light of the phase reopening and the Board of Health and the Health Department of trying to make sure that, as well as the rest of the town departments, that we help streamline and help business owners navigate reopening so that businesses can come back online safely sooner than later. We did have 2 body art apprentice applications come in to the Health Department, and discussion with the director figured this was a good example of us demonstrating that we're trying to help businesses move forward as well. So rather than wait to have this, both agenda items held at our meeting later this month, I figured we just add on to the agenda today. And I want to have a brief discussion on this. I believe that all 3 board members that are on the phone today, myself, Mr. Rulis, and Dr. Bichetti, have had conversations with the director today. So we're sort of in a unique perspective that, or a situation where when we started having a body art studios in town, and then they were coming before us for apprentices, we may have had 1 or 2 apprentices like applications for the same establishment at the same time, and now there are 2 additional ones before us. And I know there's been concern or questions amongst board members of, we're not trying to have anyone sort of operate a school in town, whether it's for permanent cosmetics or for tattooing, and so looking at the number of apprentice licenses or registrations that can be allowed. In our current body art regulations, we don't cover that specifically, so there is no cap on the number of practitioner or apprentice licenses or permits. But I think that we're at the point now that we may want to consider having these body art establishments prepare an apprentice management plan. Because in our body art regulation that's current and that's being rewritten, we don't specify how the business is to operate, and that's not our role. But it would be very helpful if the establishment was to put together an apprentice management plan that would describe what exactly is that establishment going to be doing to oversee the work of the apprentice, even if they list what specific things, and then who's going to be the person responsible for it, and then if there are multiple apprentice permits given to establishment, how are they planning on handling that? On the apprentice application, there isn't, Susan, you can correct me in the verbiage or not, but there is a spot for the body art license holder who will be acting as the sponsor or overseer of the apprentice, to have their name listed on that. So we do have on the applications a place for a practitioner to be named who will be overseeing or responsible for that apprentice. And I thought, and I wanted to have a discussion of this, but I know you've had concerns in the past, Tony, and I just thought that maybe one tack we can look at is...
I think it's a good point, yeah.
Having that management plan, because it's not for us to tell them how they're to handle their apprentice or apprentices, but rather they put on paper, and then we hold them accountable, or the department holds them accountable to whatever they put on that paper or that document.
Correct. I think it's an excellent idea, Ray, to have that, because realistically you can only manage so many people at a time, and I think that it's going to be very important and key that we do something of this nature to make it be more presentable and more cogent for what we're trying to do. We're not trying to see them running schools, and I like to know how many people you can oversee at a time. I'd like a little bit of clarity. I'm all for the businesses expanding, but on the other side of the coin, we want the best of the best being practitioners in our community, and I think that the only way we're going to get it is to have some guidelines that everyone follows. And also the people that are teaching these students, they have to have the proper expertise and time. My concerns would be someone that's just been an apprentice, get their license, and then now they're teaching someone else. So I don't think that's a good thing. But I think what you're suggesting, Ray, is great.
I mean, lack of anything else, I don't see that. I mean, each establishment is run differently. It's a different physical layout, and
Correct.
It's hard for us to come up with everything that would really apply and applied equally. We can't do. I mean, we've seen that, unfortunately, with the COVID-19
Absolutely. Every situation is unique, right? You have to guide. You have to develop the plans according to your unique circumstances and follow within the guidelines of, space, of, we still have physical distancing that's important, proper hygiene, oversight of, these people are, I'm very familiar with training people. I've been doing it for 35 years in an area of expertise that does require some due diligence with oversight. So now you have to take all those prior issues in account with the new physical distance and everything, and and how many people can one person effectively train. So I'm okay with that. I think they need to make it unique to their follow the guidelines and adjust for them to be successful and provide a good service, and following all the guidelines that they needed to, plus now the COVID-19 guidelines as well.
And I'm thinking, and I'll get your opinion next, Maria, I'm thinking, too, that some of this management plan could be just in the simple form of a checklist of these are the things that the establishment or the person who's listed on the apprentice application is going to be observing, monitoring, checking for us. So it's a simple checklist, and then to have a verbal description of how are they planning on actually overseeing the apprentice.
Could I jump in at any time, everyone?
Yeah, go right ahead, Todd.
Hey, how's everybody doing? Hope everybody's well.
Good, thanks.
Good. And yes, I did see that come up about the apprentices, and it seemed like there was quite a handful. I just have to let the board know that Jim is no longer with us, so we would be minusing him. Excuse me, someone broke up there.
It must have been Tony.
Okay.
So, yeah, sorry, it faded out a little bit, so I apologize. I just pulled over to try and stay in an area so we can proceed with this meeting and not having me lose it, so I apologize.
That's okay. So Jim Moderano is no longer with us because it interfered with his union job at the time. So the new artist, Monica, actually has a substantial amount of tattoo experience working in a shop, but the difference is in other countries, the license is much different than around here. She has, I believe it's 11 or 12 years experience. Wallace also has 5 years, which he did train under her and her husband. So it would only leave me with Tina, Cass, and Keith that are fairly new. And basically, none of them are, except for Cass, I'm sorry, are any close at all to start to pick up a tattoo machine until they learn the proper procedures, how to keep things clean and disinfect, stuff like that. So usually what I do is I keep the first 6 months, you're pretty much just learning how to break down and set up and do so with no cross-contamination and stuff like that. So even though the list did seem like it was getting pretty large, I had to do something like that to kind of feel people out. And, I'm sorry that they lost money on doing so, but such is life. So, again, it would be 3 new artists, new apprentices. As for Monica, again, she is very highly, very reputable, very highly experienced, and very great artist she is.
So let me, Todd, I have the utmost respect for you and what you're trying to do with your business, and I just need clarity. So, I mean, I know from the beginning, and and correct me if I'm wrong, I know that the apprenticeship was under your guidance, your oversight, and everything. Are you requesting that we, as a board, allow other people that are not part of your business system, being monitors and teachers, to relieve you of some of this time? Or because I can't imagine. I know you're a very busy man, and I'm wondering how much time it takes to monitor all these new people that are probably going to be very good and successful artists. So, is that what you're requesting, or is it?
At some point, I will be overseeing 99% of it, but there is a point where, yes, I do need a life and watch my family grow also. So what I'm trying to say is, Wallace is already a licensed artist. He's very experienced. Dean is a very experienced artist. Matt is still fairly new, and is as new as Malia has. Remember, she's been in the shop since she was 18 years old. She's now 21 today. So they do all have 3 years has already passed, so that's pretty good background right there.
You know what, Todd? Yeah. You know what, Todd? I'm going to my opinion, I've all been for having someone seasoned experience, but one of the things I don't agree with, and this is in my business as well, people being teachers, it's like, I would never let my son or daughter who gets a recent driver's license start teaching other people the ins and outs. And my concerns are, and for 2 reasons. One, now that we have a history, like I said, I think your professionalism, your business acumen, everything is great. And what I get worried about is new people with a license teaching other people. Part of the reason why I felt comfortable with an apprenticeship was having someone of your stature and experience, and also you are the business owner doing this. I'm a little reticent.
I think I misspoke on that. Not at any time is anybody except Wallace, as of now, or Dean. And Dean, I know he seemed new, but he was tattooing years before. And not even so much a Dean, and all due respect to him, but nobody else in the shop I ever allowed to give any suggestion on how to do a tattoo. What I maybe misspoke on was how to disinfect and keep clean. I believe all
correct,
of
yeah.
But to tell them how to, what to use, the proper equipment to actually apply the tattoo, no. I definitely, like you said, when you learn how to drive, there's a lot of things that you got to learn how to, switch lanes, and I agree with you 100%. But like someone like Monica, like none of these apprentices would be working when I'm not here if they were to tattoo a friend or whatever while they were licensed under my supervision. But the biggest, most important one I would ask, if they were, and I started to take some weekends off, it would be Wallace and Monica, are basically very, very, very experienced. And I believe that a few members from the board would probably have seen their history on social media also.
Well, I think that goes into the whole idea of a apprentice management plan, because you could just put what you said into writing and have that be as part of the plan, so that it's a written document now, because conversations tend to be remote short term.
Okay.
And that's no reflection
too. Conversations change verbiage. Yeah.
Right. So I think having a document sort of serves as a good reminder from both the department standpoint and your standpoint, and whoever's working there, of so like your policy manual, that if you're not there and an apprentice is there, these are the other folks that can be your alternate if you're not there.
Right.
So again, I think that if you have it in writing, that's going to help you.
Yeah, and also one other thing I know we spoke about too, when other people are oversight, I would like them to know that I think the management plan is very important, and I think that that's good, and I don't have a problem with reviewing that. I personally don't want to make a quick decision today, because one of the things I'm also doing is, I know that when other people are overseeing, and I think it's part of the management plan, then I want the people to know that if there's a breach, see, currently, and I believe it's, if we go through our past documents, meeting minutes over the past few years since we've implemented the body art and moved forward with it, and you've been a big, important part of it, Todd. I think that I've always said that I always had concerns about is everything is great when things go good, but what happens when something goes bad? And fortunately, we've had some great professionals in the area that we haven't had those issues. But call me chicken little Tony, sometimes, but
I do carry a very, very large, very expensive insurance for that too. That's part of business.
I know, and that's great. And yeah, that's great. And maybe that's something new that I was unaware of. I was just saying there was like a policies that, the person that is training has to realize that if something happens on their watch, as well as if it happens, first of all, your licenses and the license for your business are ultimately responsible for that, and that could have negative repercussions. But also the person who may be overseeing or filling in, they don't have an interest in the business. And sadly, as you've experienced and we've experienced through you and some of the other artists, because some of these artists, they get to be a little bit migratory, for lack of a better word. It's like I'm not always sure whether, and also what their training is, it's one thing. I mean, you're an entrepreneur and a businessman, and I do understand where you're coming from. Your situation is unique because you do have a facility. It's not your primary means of income. I do question too that some people, they're training their competition, and I know that we were talking about things in the past. So I just want to make sure that, you know,
After
when a
my
business plan.
Yeah, after my last episode, if I believe I know where you're coming from, I do have a new policy. If you were to receive an apprenticeship in my shop, apprenticeship only, because once you're licensed, pretty much you can travel to shop at your own freedom in the state of Massachusetts just by going to each town and applying for another license. For most places.
Correct.
As for
we've experienced that. Yeah.
Yeah, any apprentice that starts doing my shop will sign a 4-year no compete clause. So, and I believe I have it up to 50 miles. So they're with me for 4 years. You know, so unless I see otherwise.
Good. Yeah, the non-compete clauses, I mean, we've had them in my business for years, and basically you can't keep someone from earning a living. So those are, I don't care what lawyers say. Sometimes the attorneys, it's like you get paid for doing it, but I've seen cases that have had what they call ironclad policies, and I don't want to get divergent on this, but my concern is, hey, I wish you the best, and I know you're doing a good job, and you've proven it, but we've had people that are coming and going and leaving. They stay, they go. My thing is, if a monitor is going to be there other than you, even if they have experience, then I'm going to want to see maybe some insurance plans, some kind of protection for ultimately the public and ultimately for these people. For example, I don't want to say a malpractice policy or something like that, but something that needs to be part of this management plan that Chairman Barry is recommending, which I'm in full agreement on, so that it also, like I said, because I look at it as, God forbid, something goes south, because we're there to protect the public, and that's all I care about. And as I've stated my own personal opinion from the beginning, we only want the best of the best artists coming to town in our community. That's why we've tried to be very, work with the yourself and other facilities in town that have it. And your situation is unique because you happen to have more people coming in that want to be in the profession and training, teaching. So when other people, and like I said, I'm not opposed to the idea, and I'm sure we can come up with something that works. But I think if you can incorporate that into what Chairman Barry is saying for the plan. So I just want the people to know if it's on that person's watch and something happens, then their license is negatively impacted, your license is negatively impacted, and the facility's license is negatively impacted. As long as that's really clear to people, because like I said, I hope it never happens. But as Chairman Barry said earlier, we talk about stuff, and then sometimes the words get changed. It's like telling someone a story. 10 people later, it gets back to you. You don't recognize the story. If you can put everything down in a plan like that in writing, Todd, and then we can review it, then I think that something can be done workable.
Yeah, I could definitely do that. And again, this is the last of the
It's for your own protection as well as the people's protection. That's all, and the public.
Yep. Yeah, that could be simple. But again, I've exhausted myself with teaching new people. This is it. This is again, Monica on this list of 3 apprentices. Monica shouldn't even be called an apprentice, because I'm sure it's embarrassing for her to even go backwards like that. But
you know what, Todd? I hate to say it. A NASCAR or a Formula One race driver may have a license and they do things that are phenomenal, but when they go to a state, they have to pass the test and all these other things to get this credibility. So we're not trying to embarrass as a community your artists, because like I said, you were the first one, so you helped us learn as a board, and we're all for it. But in the process
I think I misspoke. I didn't mean it that way. I meant she understands. I meant she's a great apprentice and she understands the process here. But I was trying to explain to you, it's all not actually 3 apprentices. It's actually 2, because she even knows.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I get
Chairman,
it.
can I
That's
say
okay,
something?
Right ahead.
Sure, Maria.
Thank you. Just very quickly, I don't want to beat a dead horse here.
Yep.
One, I agree with having a checklist. I think that's a great idea. That will make everything very standardized as far as training the apprentices. In the event that you are not present, Todd, you know, perhaps it can be part of your plan that you have one person, and it's always the same person that is designated to step into your role for these apprentices. You know, I recognize that one of them has been doing this for years, but she now has to sort of go through the process again here. So no doubt she understands what needs to be done, but you still need to fill out that checklist and make sure, you know, that she's doing everything correctly. But just have one person, maybe the person that works in your shop that has the most experience, you know, you train them to train the apprentice. That way it's the same across the board, and there won't be any, oh, well, I kind of do it this way sometimes, and, you know, Todd's not here. You can't have you know, that happen. Everyone has to be the same. Those are my thoughts on it. I think.
Great.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Yep. Thank you.
That's great, Maria. Yeah, and Todd already has the standard policy, so it's just two people following the same guidelines. And we're not talking about the artistic interpretation. You have an infection control plan, you have a policy, you have hazardous waste. So, I mean, that is cookbook. It's there, so there should be no deviation whatsoever at this point in time. And so Maria's spot on. I'm total agreement with what Maria says. And like I said, I think we're all on the same page. It's just putting it down in writing, making sure whoever is going to be overseeing it, yourself, and if there's one other, we're on the same page, and everyone's aware of the liabilities if things go south.
Yep. I totally understand. I appreciate it.
And Todd, just so you're aware too, administratively, just like you do in other regulations where we require some type of a management plan, the plan just needs to be in file with the health department. It's not something that the board votes on to approve. We don't review these in depth. It's more, we just want to have something documented that serves as sort of the guide for both you and the department.
You got it. I will have something written up by Monday, if that's all right. My construction company's been very, very busy with protecting windows and stuff in Boston. So by Monday, I'll have something and emailed over to Susan.
Okay. One last question, Todd. What's the approximate time you feel, because like I said, you're the expert, that it takes to apprentice someone? So, I mean, not maybe be the Picasso of tattooing, or for lack of a better term, I'm sure there's other famous artists, but what's because even in any facility, because now we have the COVID-19, we have the social distancing, physical space distancing for people. Do you plan on having the oversight be like the two assistants as well as the people the apprentices? And what's the time frame you think it takes to turn an apprentice, in your opinion, to an artist that you feel comfortable can go for their license? Because I think this also will help us as a board decide, maybe we do have to cap some of the numbers, because I can see it becoming very, very crazy for everybody, and not in the best interest of the public by just having it, because we don't want to have a bunch of beginners. Exactly.
Yes, I totally agree. From day one, I believe I've been stating that it's more of a 2 years, but it's a loaded gun question here for me, because here I am with Monica going through the apprenticeship, and again, I will say this, like, she is very, very, very good artist and very knowledgeable of the art world, the tattoo world, and everything about it. So it's kind of a hard answer for me to say 2 years, and then actually say in 6 months, say, listen, she obviously knows what it is. She just knows the custom of what I need to do in my shop, because she already knows how to run a shop. She had her own shop. So basically she just needs to know my rules and the way I handle it. And that doesn't take 2 years,
Well, when I asked this question. She's an exception to the rule,
Okay,
clearly evident by what we're aware of. But in general, I'm assuming you're taking a person that has an interest in it, and you've done this before. What gives us an idea? Because I can see that if we put a number for a cap of how many apprentices within our community, it might be, like I said, once you get a license, it's okay to you have a license. But as I said, I go back to driving. When people get a license, they still have the experience that goes with it. So we're looking for some help at this point while you're going to be developing this plan. What do you think an average time would be? So 2 years. I mean, you and I spoke.
2 years. 2 years at a
years.
minimum. At a minimum, and then discretion on their placement and their abilities. But 2 years is. Yeah,
some people have aptitude for it. I get it. Well, that's okay. That helps us for when we have to come up with because I'm sure other facilities may want to do that, and we want to be reasonable in the community, and also, like I said, there's a migratory bit too. So if we have people that are apprentices and then they decide they don't want it or they leave, then I think we need to put a number on or a cap for the time being, because as I said, we don't even COVID-19 coming in has changed the rule book, and we're still in the process of trying to figure that out.
All right. So yes, 2 years apprentice should do it, a minimum of 2 years. And I believe most of mine have done that.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Todd.
You're welcome.
Okay, so Susan, for you, we do have Tina Bartolomeo and Monica Rodriguez-Mata coming for apprentice applications, and the board does not vote to approve these. It's more we've asked them routinely to come before the board when we're meeting in person, just so that they could have a meet and greet and just understand that the board does make sure the health department enforces the rules. And so there's nothing here. Is there anything that you wanted to mention about either applicant?
No, I just thought we should have them introduce themselves. We can start with Monica. And since she's been talked about so much, if you have any questions, I don't know, it seems like you know a lot about it, but just to let you know, Mr. Chairman, I mean, she submitted all the basic information that we need for an apprentice as far as her health. Irvi has gone through the health records, and as long as she understands what we'll need for her to become a fully licensed person, so in 6 months or a year or whenever Todd feels it's time, then, I will review that at that time. But right now, she has everything she needs for this particular apprenticeship application. So, Monica, which mask are you behind? So how are you?
I'm good, thank you. And you?
Good. So it sounds like you have a lot of experience.
Yeah.
Yes? You've been tattooing a long time?
Yeah, I started tattoo when I was 18 years old. So I have 11 years in work.
So the board usually asks, have you reviewed the emergency plan or the cleanup plan or whatever it is that God has? What
control policy
for you?
Plan, yeah,
that's it. Sorry, I couldn't think of the word. You've reviewed
That's okay.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
She's not fully English. She's very good with her English, but not fully.
Sorry.
Is she? My concern is, I'm okay with the speaking. Is she capable with reading the infection control policy, knowing it, or even if you know it by memory, and maybe the reading is not as where it needs to be? Because if
good question,
you're asking some. I just want to make sure that some people can remember things very good, but that's a big thing. I mean, that's what we're concerned about, public safety. So sounds like she is, but also as a question, if she is going to be possibly monitoring other people. I just want to make sure everyone's on the page.
Or at least to have that document multilingual.
Very well. Just speaking.
I can read. I understand more with written than
Okay.
speaking.
Mhm. Okay.
Actually, I understand, but it's hard to me speak. Sorry.
Yes. You're doing very well.
Thank you.
Anybody else have a question for Monica at all at this time, or?
Sorry.
No, I do not.
No. No, I don't.
Okay. All
I
right.
trust Todd has proven by precedent in the past, so I don't have issues with that. I just, like I said, we're all there to protect the public safety and do its best. So he's had a good track record, a good history. I'm okay with this right now, as long as we're all aware of what we just discussed.
Okay. And, so the second applicant is Tina.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Monica.
Bye-bye, Monica. Thank you for
Hi,
coming.
Tina. How are you?
Hi. Good. How are you?
We're good. So you had a lot to listen to today, but a lot of conversation. But same thing, Mr. Chairman. Tina has submitted all the application information that we requested. And we didn't mention it, but I guess Todd Arsenault is the primary on supervising for both of these. Just want to mention that. And so and Irby, the public health nurses, reviewed the medical records. So everything is in order at this point, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. I have no questions. Do either other board member have any questions for Tina?
No, but welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I assume you have also seen the infection control plan?
Yeah.
338?
Yep.
Okay. And now it's going to be 2 floors, too, so there'll be an interesting new place where things probably have to see where all the emergency supplies are, the first aid supplies, things like that. I'm sure there's going to be new locations and new training, so hopefully Todd will make sure everybody knows where everything is.
Yeah, you definitely will. For sure.
Yeah, good. So I don't think
You have
we
a great teacher.
Thank you.
Did you hear that?
Thank you.
And then, Todd, I
Well
just have one
deserved.
last thing for you, and that is, if you haven't done so already, if you do have someone that has either a practitioner or apprentice certificate from the health department issued, and they're no longer there, if you haven't, we'd just like to make sure you do notify the department so they know, so that at any point in time, who are the active employees there.
Great. I believe I emailed something over to, no, that wasn't full with everything. Yes, I will. I will do that immediately.
Good. That's great. And I did inform Todd about that the last one, what the board said about the other apprentices. And after we open, we will issue, reissue the apprentice licenses to your other apprentices.
Okay.
And it'll be good for 6 months without a charge for that one, for those 6 months. We don't know what date opening is. The governor will be announcing, what's next on June 8th. We don't know where body art's going to fall in that, Todd. I mean, it could be later in the month. We don't know.
I honestly, I thought I did know, and I was very confused the last time, so I'm in the category, I have no clue.
Yeah.
We all are, Todd. It's not.
Yeah, it's not you, Todd. It's all of us.
It may not be all our personal opinions, but none of us are the governor.
Yeah. No. Okay, Tina, thank you very much for appearing today. We appreciate you taking the time to meet the board today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tina.
Thank you.
Thank
Tina,
you.
Monica, as well as Todd,
Good
for all
luck.
joining
Good
us
luck,
today.
Monica and Tina. Good luck.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Todd, good luck with the reopening
Thank you,
when
Todd.
you're allowed to.
Very much.
Thank you for your time.
I'll talk to you soon, Todd.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Todd.
Okay. Well, since it's on the agenda, we have under Health Department staff updates. Is there anything else, Susan or Shannon or Irby, you wanted to share with us while we're on the call today?
I know we're starting to get calls about swimming pools. Shannon is, we're waiting to find out the date for when all our semi-public pools will be opening. And we believe, again, it's in phase 2, but we don't know the date. It'll be likely later in the month. Someone has thrown about this date of June 29th, but we don't know if that's accurate or not. So one thing we want to say to all the pool operators is, you know, the governor could say it, oh, on Monday it's going to be June 9th, but we still have to receive all the applications and we have to do all the inspections. So please tell the people who live in your complexes that just because the governor says the pools are open doesn't mean they're open right away. It just means we can start the process. So that's our next big grouping, along with the restaurants, obviously, have lots of questions. So some are reopening in takeout and getting ready to go forward with outdoor. So it's a lot going on.
I guess the other thing, just
Thank
as
you,
a
Susan.
public service reminder, is just that if any businesses have any questions about reopening and what it's going to take, contact either the health department, town manager's office, or Steve Sadwick, and they'll be able to help explain the process of what's needed, help you navigate the process, because the guidelines of the whatever we're calling them now seem to change almost daily, and the people that need to know aren't always the ones that are notified first about changes.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Ray. Thank you, Chairman. Yep.
I don't know if Shannon or Irby have anything else they want to talk about that's coming up. My brain. Regular things are going on too. So we have the regular, typical spring things that we're going to be talking about soon. And actually there's a discussion about Triple E coming up soon. So I'll be updating you that probably at the next meeting.
Okay. So I think at this point, this can probably be our last Wednesday meeting, because we're past the peak of pandemic and it's more now into business reopening. So unless something pops up in the meantime, I think our next meeting as the board will be back to our normal monthly meeting, which is scheduled for June 18th.
Okay.
Okay. Richard, anything else you wanted to mention before we adjourn today's meeting?
No, I'm all set, Mr. Chairman, and I will keep the board informed of any new business or new issues that come up as we go along.
Okay, great. Thank you. So, Tony, since you're closest to our member that always makes the motion to adjourn the meeting, would you like to make that motion in his behalf today?
Yes, in Board of Health member Charles Rue, in his immortal words, I would like to make a motion to end the meeting, and in addition, I would like to thank the wonderful staff, town manager, Board of Health agent, and all the other town nurse, and with all the departments for helping keep our community safe. But yes, for Mr. Rue, I would like to make a motion to end today's meeting. Thank you.
Mr. Rose, would you like to second, since I can't?
I will second the motion.
Okay, motion's been put forth and seconded to quote-unquote end this meeting today.
Good one.
So all those in favor signify by saying aye, and we'll do a verbal roll call. So, Dr. Bichetti?
Aye.
Mr. Rulis?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Motion carries unanimously 3-0. So it is 2:04 p.m. and good afternoon, Tewksbury.
Be safe, everybody.
Stay safe, everyone.
You too.
Thank you.